I'd been transmigrated into the body of the sect Saint's son. I possessed the supreme bone, and I even had the backing of the prestigious Gu celestial clan. Just as I was patting myself on the back for this insane stroke of luck, my fiancée, Seraphina Chun, showed up. She approached me, tears streaming down her face, and pleaded, "Gai Yifan is gravely wounded. Only your supreme bone can save his life. As the saying goes, saving one life is better than building a 7-story pagoda. I beg you, lend us your aid." Me? Before I could even ask Seraphina if what she was saying was something a sane person would utter, a voice echoed in my ear. Ding! Detecting the protagonist female lead. The ultimate villain system is now activated. After processing the system's prompt, I realized that Seraphina Chun before me was one of the world's designated protagonist female leads, and the Yifan she mentioned was this world's chosen one. I, however, was the poor sap who constantly fed resources to Yifan early in his growth phase because of Seraphina, a stepping stone born of jealousy in the middle stage. In short, a single villain. Ding! Congratulations to the host for successfully binding the ultimate villain system. Do you wish to claim the beginner's gift package? Claim it. Congratulations to the host for obtaining the Supreme Detachment Sutra, the Yin-Yang Enlightenment Scripture, and the Twin Pupils. The system rules. After accepting the original body's memories, I knew that cultivation techniques in this world were categorized into 6 tiers: yellow, profound, earth, heaven, saint, and celestial. Furthermore, all tiers below celestial were subdivided into low, mid, high, and extreme grades. Even the inherited technique of my Gu celestial clan was only saint tier high grade. But the 2 techniques gifted by the system were both celestial tier, capable of reaching the true immortal realm directly. Not to mention the twin pupils in this world. Since ancient times, there's been the saying, twin pupils open the heavens. Since ancient times, no one on earth has ever been defeated. This was a cultivation physique that countless cultivators dreamed of, no weaker than my supreme bone. Just as I was in high spirits, an ill-timed voice interrupted. Gu, I'm talking to you. You can't think you can get away with just staying silent. Today, whether you want to give up the supreme bone or not, you will give it up. Or don't even think about me talking to you again. I looked up at Seraphina Chun, standing before me. She was the epitome of mesmerizing beauty. Words like moon-hiding and flower-shaming or city-toppling barely did her justice. No wonder she had the original host completely besotted, driven so mad he'd even offer up his own supreme bone. But I wasn't that animal whose mind was ruled by his lower half. Just as I was about to teach Seraphina a lesson, my body suddenly became uncontrollable. A trace of the original host's lingering will remain, preventing me from harming Seraphina. Truly, even in death, he had to simp. Never satisfied unless he simps himself completely dry. I suppressed the tremor of emotion in my heart and looked at Seraphina with icy eyes. I'm happy you came to see me, but I strongly dislike you asking me to carve out my supreme bone for Yifan. With that, I flicked a finger toward the exterior of the cave dwelling, activating the protective formation. Seraphina Chun's expression changed drastically, and she instinctively stumbled back a few steps. Gu, what are you doing? A flash of terror crossed her eyes. The Gu Chon before her felt profoundly unfamiliar. What am I doing? A slight smirk touched my lips as I unleashed a palm strike. Towering spiritual power surged towards Seraphina. Caught completely off guard, Seraphina spat out a mouthful of blood. The next moment, I closed the distance, pinning both her hands and pressed my lips against hers. The instant our lips touched, the lingering will inside me, which had been frantically lashing out because I harmed Seraphina, seemed to hit a pause button and instantly fell silent. It was instantly refined. After refining the original host's lingering will, the spiritual power in my dantian boiled over. Bod twin trees, one withers, one flourishes. Heaven and earth have cold and heat. Mortals have life and death. The Supreme Detachment Sutra seemed to have found its perfect nutrient source and began operating autonomously. It smashed through the bottleneck, reaching the first realm. Cinnamon boom. The barrier of the golden core peak shattered in response, and a plump, lustrous nascent soul condensed in my dantian. The nascent soul was enveloped in the pure radiance of the path of sentiment. I could clearly feel that my current strength had multiplied more than tenfold. Yet the ecstasy of the breakthrough lasted only a second in my heart before all my focus returned to Seraphina-chan in my arms. In my mind, the profound mysteries of the Yin-Yang Enlightenment scripture cycled rapidly. This celestial tear technique aimed directly at the great Tao of Yin and Yang, fundamentally a dual cultivation method. However, if the master willed it, one could also employ an overwhelmingly dominant technique of plucking in to supplement Yang. Anyone who reads books about chosen ones and ultimate villains knows the routine. Collect the female leads and suppress the male lead. But I wasn't about to play some overbearing CEO romance game with Seraphina-chan. Killing Seraphina-chan would cause some of her fortune to flow to other women, creating new protagonist female leads. Was that a problem for me? Absolutely not. It just meant sleeping with 2 more women. In truth, it's because short stories can't be padded with word count. Spiritual power flowed, and the methods of the Yin-Yang Enlightenment scripture were set in motion. A formidable suction force surged from the point of our connection, furiously draining the cultivation from Seraphina-chan's body. Goo, what? What are you doing? Seraphina-chan first felt her spiritual energy draining like a tidal wave, speaking in panic. She had only been angry, assuming Guan was planning to force himself on her. Now that anger was instantly replaced by ultimate terror. She trembled, begging, "Let me go, Goo, I was wrong. I won't mention sacrifice in my bones again." I paid no heed. In fact, I increased the draining force. The original host was irredeemably stupid. Before Yi Fan appeared, 9/10 of the cultivation resources he painstakingly saved up went to subsidizing Seraphina-chan. Keep in mind, Seraphina-chan only came from a spirit transformation family. She clung to the Gu clan only due to some long-forgotten engagement arranged by their ancestors, latching onto me, the Gu clan's young master. If it weren't for the original host's crazy pampering, how could she have reached the 3rd layer of the golden core by age 20? What I was doing now was simply taking back the resources that were originally hers with interest. Nent Soul Layer 1, Layer 2, Layer 5. Boom, my cultivation soared, stopping only at Nent Soul Layer 5. If I had relied solely on Seraphina-chan's golden core cultivation, I couldn't have advanced this much. However, Seraphina-chan's body still contained many unabsorbed heavenly treasures, plus her unique physique, the profound body. This physique was inherently the perfect cauldron for cultivating techniques. All these factors combined allowed my cultivation to skyrocket. Gung, I hate you. Seraphina-chan was barely breathing, her voice filled with utter defeat. At that moment, an urgent shout came from outside the cave dwelling. "Senior Sister Shan, are you in there?" Yi Fan, who had been cultivating in his own dwelling, suddenly felt a sharp pang in his heart, as if something vital was being lost. After some inquiries, he learned that Senior Sister Seraphina-chan had entered Guan's cave dwelling and hadn't come out for an hour. He immediately sensed something was terribly wrong. Hearing Yi Fan's voice, a wicked thought sparked in my mind, and I casually activated the soundproofing formation outside the cave dwelling. Yi Fan, standing outside, heard the muffled, intimate sounds coming from within, and his Tao heart immediately destabilized. Ding! Detecting the chosen one's unstable Tao heart. Host fortune plus 100. Senior Sister Shan. Gwen's Sister Shan now. Otherwise, I won't let this go. Yi Fan shouted frantically, slamming a fist into the protective formation. Noisy. The moment Yi Fan touched the formation, a heavy mountain-like pressure descended, pinning Yi Fan directly to the ground outside the cave dwelling, unable to even lift his head. The mere aura of a soul integration master was enough to severely injure Yi Fan. Then, a figure in a green robe slowly appeared beside the formation. It was Guan's guardian, Venerable Gu. He stroked his long beard, and his gaze swept over Yi Fan on the ground with unconcealed contempt. Venerable Gu had long disapproved of the original host chasing after Seraphina Chun, a woman from a spirit transformation family, acting superior to the Gu clan Saint Sun based on a bit of looks and constantly involved with other male disciples. If not for the rules, he would have taught her a lesson long ago. Now that Gu had finally woken up and was taking care of Seraphina Chun, he felt considerably better. He couldn't let this arrogant fool disturb the young master's mood. Venerable Gu lifted a finger, preparing to condense a bit more pressure to let this presumptuous Yi Fan taste what it felt like for his bones to shatter. He knew the consequences of offending a celestial clan. But just then, a sharp, furious shout echoed from not far away. "Stop!" A figure clad in fiery red shot over like a meteor. The swirl of her robes single-handedly blocked Venerable Gu's mountain-like pressure in front of Yi Fan. The newcomer wore a blazing red outfit, her dark hair cascading like a waterfall, her peerless beauty surpassing even Seraphina Chun by a notch. This person was none other than the peak master of Taoist derivation peak in the Celestial Secrets Holy Land, Lu Qingmei. She stood gracefully before Yi Fan, her phoenix eyes frosty, looking directly at Venerable Gu. Venerable Gu, though Yi Fan is only a foundation establishment stage cultivator, he is still a member of my Taoist derivation peak. How has he offended you today to warrant the personal intervention of a soul integration master to discipline him? While her words sounded like an inquiry, they clearly pointed out his impropriety in bullying a junior. Venerable Gu replied with complete nonchalance. "Peak Master Lu, your words are a bit misplaced. Our young master is cultivating in seclusion in his dwelling. Yet this boy is outside shouting and making threats against the young master. As his guardian, taking action to intimidate him is perfectly reasonable." Lu Qingmei was about to retort when a few faint soft moans drifted from the cave dwelling. Though she had dedicated herself to the Tao and never taken a partner, she instantly understood the situation, and a barely perceptible blush touched her cheek. Effin spoke urgently. Master Senior Sister Shan was forcibly taken in by Guang. Please save her quickly. Effin was distraught. He possessed the primeval saint body, a top-tier physique in the world. However, the primeval saint body was envied by heaven, which placed 9 shackles upon it. Breaking each one required unimaginable resources. Seraphina Chin's profound body happened to be capable of helping him break 1 shackle. Given the circumstances, Seraphina Chin's primordial energy was likely lost. He could only hope that Guang hadn't drained her completely, leaving a soup for him that might assist in unlocking a shackle. Lu Qingmei's face instantly darkened to that of a cold pool upon hearing Yi Fan claim Seraphina Chun was forcibly abducted. With a flick of her jade hand, a sharp sword shot straight for the cave dwelling formation, but Venerable Gu easily blocked it. "Step aside." Venerable Gu chuckled. "I'm afraid I cannot comply." He didn't take Lu Qingmei seriously at all. They were both soul integration masters. He specialized in offense, while Lu Qingmei specialized in celestial secrets deduction. If they truly fought, she wouldn't be his match. The Guan had only sent Guang to the Celestial Secrets Holy Land to cultivate because they coveted the heaven derivation divine technique. Lu Qingmei's expression was grim, and the atmosphere instantly grew tense. "Olgu, stand down." A calm but undeniably authoritative voice came from inside the cave dwelling. Immediately after, the light gold formation light screen parted like water ripples, and I emerged with my hands clasped behind my back. Behind me, my maid Elle was supporting the near-lifeless Seraphina Chun, whom she then unceremoniously tossed on the ground. Seraphina Chin's hair was now entirely white, her spiritual power utterly depleted, looking as if she were moments from death. Yi Fan's eyes widened with rage. He struggled to crawl up on the ground and pointed at me, roaring, "Guan, you bastard! What did you do to Senior Sister Shan? Wretch!" Lu Qingmei's phoenix eyes snapped open upon seeing Seraphina Chin's miserable state, and her sword instantly surged around her. Seraphina Chan had originally been a disciple Lu Qingmei had taken in casually out of respect for Guang, and she wasn't highly valued but she was still part of Taoist derivation peak. Seeing her tortured like this, how could Lu Qing maintain her authority as a peak master? She did nothing. However, a sideways glance at Venerable Gu's cold stare made Lu Qing may ultimately suppress the urge to attack, and she angrily rebuked, "Guyo, you animal. She is your junior sister, yet you struck her so viciously." I remained unperturbed. Master is mistaken. There are extenuating circumstances. Lu Qing may forcibly suppressed her rage, then explained clearly what circumstances there are. Tell me, if you can't give a satisfactory explanation, I will report this to the sect master today and expel you from the sect. I scoffed inwardly. According to the original plot, the system revealed that after Yi Fan stole my supreme bone, his cultivation stalled because it lacked the nourishment of supreme blood. At that time, the original host's lovesickness had somewhat cleared, and he refused Seraphina Chen's request for more supreme blood. It was his revered master, Lu Qingmei, who personally took his supreme blood, rendering him completely useless. Would you really expel me? Still, I maintained appearances. Senior sister Shan actively came to me today, saying that junior brother was gravely injured and required my supreme bone to save him. But the supreme bone is crucial to my path of cultivation. As they say, obstructing someone's Tao path is like killing their parents. Naturally, I refused, but senior sister Shan offered her entire cultivation base, plus the origin of her profound body to make up for the deficiency of my supreme bone. Seeing her devotion, I agreed. Young master, this must not be done. Venerable Gu panicked. Although the profound body was precious, it was far less valuable than the supreme bone. As for a mere bit of cultivation, the Guan had no shortage of heavenly treasures to boost cultivation. Lu Qingmei's expression softened slightly, and the way she looked at Seraphina Chun changed. She hadn't expected her disciple to be such a devoted soul. Yin was also moved, secretly vowing to give Seraphina Chun a magnificent funeral. He spoke up. Since that is the case, senior brother, please give me the supreme bone. I shook my head. No rush. Yin's face fell drastically. Senior brother, are you planning to go back on your word? I replied, Yi Fan, I will honor what I promised to senior sister Shan. However, before that, I need to see if you are worthy of senior sister Shan's sacrifice. Yi Fan asked with confusion, what does senior brother mean by that? I continued, as everyone knows, senior sister Shan and I have had an engagement since childhood. But a gentleman does not steal another's beloved. Since senior sister Shan is so devoted to you, I shall grant your wish. When you two hold your wedding, the supreme bone will naturally be presented as a wedding gift. Effen's face turned ugly. Before, he would have been willing to marry Seraphina Chun. But now that she was crippled, looking like an old woman, how could he bring himself to do it? He looked towards Seraphina Chun, his gaze carrying a flicker of hope. Seraphina Chun saw the look in Ye's eyes clearly. Her heart, already riddled with holes, felt as if it had been violently pierced. She had given everything for him, her cultivation destroyed, her youth consumed, and all she received in return was this look of disgust. Yet she glanced again at Guang's retreating back, recalling the man who once loved her to madness, who had whispered like a demon in her ear just now. Think about your clansmen when you have nothing better to do. A single tear traced a path down her cheek. She took a deep breath. Junior brother, Effen, I gave you everything. Are you disgusted with me now? Ian was struck dumb by her question, his face alternating between red and pale, forcing a phony, affectionate smile. How could I? Seeing your sister's feelings for me run deep, I will never let her down. Since that is settled, an early date is better than a late one. Senior sister Shan's lifespan is short. This marriage should not be delayed. Why not hold it tomorrow? It's been a long time since Taoist derivation peak had some excitement. I turned my gaze toward Lu Qingmei. Surprisingly, Lu Qingmei did not object. Good. Ian's face had completely turned green. Just as he was about to find an excuse to refuse, Lu Qingmei shot him a sharp look, forcing the words back down his throat. Seraphina Chun stood frozen, her look toward me complex and unreadable. After Lu Qing Mei left with Yin and Serafina Chun, Venerable Gu did not vanish back in the void, but quickly walked to my side, his expression grave. Young master, regarding the supreme bone, can you reconsider? That is your foundation. How can you so easily give it to another? As a guardian, he shouldn't excessively interfere with Guang's decisions. But Gu held the future of the guest clan, and the supreme bone was of immense importance. He truly couldn't stand by idly. Hearing this, I flipped my hand, and a golden bone emanating a faint spiritual light and identical in appearance to the supreme bone materialized in my palm. You need not worry. I took out the supreme bone in advance. Young master, Venerable Gu's pupils contracted, and he gasped, reaching out to check my internal condition. How could you be so reckless? Removing the bone is no small matter. One mistake could ruin your Tao foundation. I lightly dodged his hand, a flicker of calculation in my eyes. My initial plan was to drain Serafina Chun's cultivation and then turn on her, letting Yi Fan come away with nothing. But the moment I saw the heaven-swallowing demonic bone in the system store, I changed my mind. This demonic bone looked extremely similar to the supreme bone. But if one refined it with their own spiritual power beforehand, once transplanted, it would not only fail to confer benefits, but also trigger a backlash. Effin's primeval saint body would merely become the nourishment for the heaven-swallowing demonic bone, with all the resulting benefits feeding back to me. It cost 1,000 fortune points, which I could purchase exactly after gaining Serafina Chun's primordial, which plundered 1,000 fortune points from Effin. Therefore, I concocted an excuse. Old Gu, rest assured, I was not acting on impulse. In the Gulin's ancient texts, I once read a supreme bone nirvana method. After removing the bone, I can wash my entire skeleton with my own supreme blood, and given time, all my bones will transform into supreme bones, even more powerful than before. I have decided to cultivate this method. Venerable Gu was half convinced, but knew I never joked about my own Tao path. I wasn't worried about him seeing through my lie later, as long as my cultivation advanced rapidly. No one in the Gul clan would dwell on such a minor issue. He stared at the supreme bone in my palm for a long moment, finally sighing. Since the young master has such ambition, this old man will say no more. Lolvu, I called out softly. Young master. As the words fell, a slender figure emerged from the shadows beside the hall. Her emerald green dress contrasted with her snow-white skin, her features gentle and serene. She was the personal attendant my mother had arranged for me years ago. Lavu possessed the rare water elemental body. While not as heaven-defying as Serafina Chun's profound embodiment, it was still an extremely outstanding cauldron physique in the cultivation world, possessing unique advantages in nourishing spiritual power and stabilizing the Tao foundation. The Supreme Detachment Sutra is a technique for cultivating the heart-mind divided into three major realms: sentiment, detachment from sentiment, and true detachment. With every breakthrough in a realm, not only would the cultivation speed increase exponentially, but one would also gradually comprehend three distinct high-level great Taos: the Tao of sentiment, the Tao of no sentiment, and the Tao of true detachment. When the three Taos merge, their power is comparable to supreme Taos like fate and time-space. Earlier, refining the original host's lingering will allowed me to touch the threshold of the sentiment realm. But this was just the beginning. To truly step onto the Tao of sentiment, I needed a catalyst to deepen my perception of feeling. Lavu was the most suitable candidate. In the original plot, Lavu was loyal to me, ultimately sacrificing her soul to block a fatal blow from Yin for me. Thinking of this, my heart stirred slightly. If I couldn't break through to the detachment from sentiment realm through my own comprehension later, and truly had to resort to killing her to prove my Tao, looking at the gentle and lovely woman before me, I did feel a flicker of reluctance. Shaking off these distracting thoughts, my expression hardened, and I ordered her to immediately go throughout the Holy Land and spread the news about Yin and Serafina. I wanted the entire Holy Land, perhaps the whole world, to know about the tragic deep love between Yin and Seraphina Chun. Yin, as the chosen one, depended on the help of various fate daughters for his journey. But the reason they were willing to wholeheartedly assist him was merely because they were drawn to Yin's facade of deep affection and righteousness. I wanted to see if, after Seraphina burned out and died, Yin, under the title of the grieving true man, could still shamelessly accept the favors of other women, as in the original plot. Could he still flirt with those fate daughters without a second thought? For the following period, I simply sealed myself off, entering deep seclusion in my cave dwelling. As someone who enjoyed fantasy novels in my previous life, I knew that strength was the root of everything. Yin and Seraphina Chun's wedding proceeded as scheduled. With my subtle push, it was exceptionally lively. The entire Celestial Secret's holy land and even nearby sects learned of this tale of devoted love met with true affection, and it continued to spread to farther places. Yet, I never made an appearance, only sending Lulvu to deliver that supreme bone on my behalf. Seraphina Chun died on their wedding night a few days earlier than I anticipated. I wondered if the grieving true man had a hand in it. Winulf brought me the rumors from the outside world. Her tone carried a hint of worry. "Young master, many disciples in the Holy Land are now gossiping about you, saying you were too cruel to Miss Sean, splitting up true lovers and causing them to be separated by life and death." I sneered upon hearing this, unconcerned in the slightest. I had already bound the ultimate villain system. Why would I still pretend to be a good person? I gently tapped Lulvu's nose and pulled her along to cultivate the Yin-Yang Enlightenment scripture together. Although this form of proper dual cultivation wasn't as immediately efficient as plundering Seraphina Chun, it was gentle and continuous, and the spiritual power still grew extremely rapidly. Especially with Lulvu's water elemental body, my Tao foundation became more than several times more stable than through simple hard cultivation. Cultivation knows no years. In the blink of an eye, a month passed. During this month, I cultivated with Lulvu, while simultaneously using the heaven-swallowing demonic bone to monitor Yin's condition. Ever since transplanting the supreme bone, Yin's saint body, origin, and spiritual power were being silently devoured by the heaven-swallowing demonic bone. The fortune points on the system panel grew steadily with the dual blessing of dual cultivation and the system. My cultivation skyrocketed from the 5th layer of the soul realm straight to the peak of the soul realm, just one step away from the spirit transformation realm. 7 more days passed, and the spiritual power within me finally reached the critical point, unable to be suppressed any longer. I moved, flying out of the cave dwelling to summon the spirit transformation heavenly tribulation. In the 9 heavens above, dark clouds gathered and purple lightning coiled like dragons. Tribulation lightning bolts imbued with the pressure of the great Tao crashed down. I activated the Supreme Detachment Sutra. My mind is still as an ancient well. I use my twin pupils to see through the trajectory of the lightning bolts using the sacred artifact gifted by the Gu Celestial clan to withstand all 9 bolts head-on. When the last lightning bolt dissipated, brilliant rainbow light enveloped me. An sentient soul within my body completely transformed into a primordial spirit the size of a human. The Tao rhythms of the great Tao of Yin and Yang and the Tao of sentiment circled my primordial spirit. It was mysterious and unfathomable. However, before I could savor the power of the spirit transformation realm, a figure in fiery red appeared before me, blocking my path as if teleporting. It was my master, Lu Qingmi. "Guy, did you tamper with the supreme bone you gave Yin?" As soon as she appeared, Lu Qingmi interrogated me. I frowned. What does master mean by that? Lu Qingmi didn't answer. She grabbed my hand, and the next moment, we were in Yin's cave dwelling. Yin was gaunt, his aura weak. His original peak foundation establishment realm was about to regress to the Qi refining stage. Since transplanting your supreme bone, Yin's cultivation has been continuously regressing. At first, we thought it was due to damage from the transplantation process, the supreme bone absorbing Yin's spiritual power to nourish itself. But after giving Yin large amounts of heavenly treasures, his cultivation regressed even faster. Even the power of the primeval saint body is continuously flowing away. Lu Qingmi stared at me with blazing eyes, demanding an explanation. I was fully prepared for this. I stood up and uttered 3 words, supreme blood. The reason the supreme bone is extraordinary is that it is nourished by supreme blood. At first, I thought the saint blood in Yin's body could substitute for supreme blood to nourish the supreme bone, so I didn't mention it. But now, it seems Yin's primeval saint body, having only unlocked one shackle, cannot bear the supreme bone. Lu Qingmi frowned. Then what should be done? Her eyes were fixed on me. I scoffed inwardly. She practically had the words, "Can you give some of your blood?" written on her face. Yet, she still asked me what to do, truly acting both righteous and self-serving. I flicked my sleeve and turned to leave. What I promised to Seraphina-chan has been fulfilled. Her death afterward has nothing to do with me. As soon as I stepped out of Yin's cave dwelling, I summoned Venerable Gu. The green-robed figure instantly appeared, bowing respectfully. "Young master, what is it?" "Hurry and take me back to the Gu clan," I said gravely. Any delay could lead to complications. The moment I refused, Lu Qingmi, the system chimed in my mind. Ding! A great power is spying on the host with malicious intent. If it waited until the system gave a warning, the observer couldn't possibly be an ordinary person. Venerable Gu's eyes sharpened, and he immediately grasped the urgency. He extended his hand to sweep me up. "Wait," I quickly added. "Take Lavu with us. Do not leave her behind." They say deep affection grows over time. After a month of intense intimacy, I naturally wouldn't leave her behind in this dangerous place to become a pawn used against me. Venerable Gu explored the cave, dwelling with his spiritual power, instantly sweeping Lavu to his side. The 3 figures transformed into a streak of green light and sped toward the outside of the Celestial Secret's Holy Land. But less than 100 miles past the Holy Land's mountain gate, an extremely powerful aura, one that seemed to merge with heaven and earth, suddenly enveloped us from behind. Immediately after, an aged but robust voice echoed across the firmament. "Brother Gu, please stay. Why the hurry to leave?" The green light abruptly halted. Venerable Gu shielded me and Lavu behind him and looked up. In the void ahead, an old man in a Taoist robe adorned with star patterns, with a youthful face and aged hair, walked out slowly. This was the Holy Lord of the Celestial Secret's Holy Land, the Divine Calculator. A tribulation transcending stage great power. The tribulation transcending stage, also known as human immortal, was incomparably stronger than a soul integration master. Venerable Gu's expression didn't change. "Greetings, Celestial Secret's Holy Lord. My young master has just broken through to the spirit transformation stage, and I'm taking him back to the Gu Celestial Clan to hold the spirit transformation banquet." Although he didn't know the Celestial Secret's Holy Land's ultimate objective, he sensed that this visitor bore ill will. The Divine Calculator, however, waved his horsetail whisk with a chuckle, his gaze falling upon me. "Brother Gu, your words are inaccurate. Gu is indeed a member of the Gu clan, but he is also a core disciple of our Celestial Secret's Holy Land. How can his spirit transformation ceremony not be held in the Holy Land?" He shifted his tone and threw out a temptation that would make any cultivator below the tribulation transcending stage move. "I decree that today Guang shall be in theft as the saint son of the Celestial Secret's Holy Land. After the ceremony, I will personally pass down the heaven derivation divine technique to him." The Divine Calculator's words caused Venerable Gu to hesitate. Why did the Gul clan send Guang to the Celestial Secret's Holy Land? Wasn't it to learn the heaven derivation divine technique? The technique contained methods to evade the 3 calamities, which could greatly increase the probability of breaking through to the tribulation transcending realm. Such a divine technique, if not for that incident, would have already been seized by the Celestial Clan or the Holy Land long ago. Thank you for the Holy Lord's kind offer, but even without the heaven derivation divine technique, I can ascend and transcend the tribulation. I spoke up then. According to the plot given by the system, the Celestial Secret's Holy Lord put great effort into helping Yi destroy the Ghoul clan. But that was only after Yin reached the soul integration stage and showed the potential to crush all enemies beneath the heavens. Only then did he declare his allegiance. But now, Yin was nothing more than a person whose cultivation had regressed to the Qi refining stage. Why was he stepping forward now? While I was pondering, the divine calculator was also staring at me. His eyes narrowed. His gaze felt as if it could strip me bare to my soul, sending a chill down my spine. Just then, ding, detecting high-level celestial secret arts probing. The system is currently shielding the host's secrets. Shielding successful. Perception has been interfered with. He paused for a moment, his tone suddenly becoming solemn. Gu, would you mind returning to the Holy Land with this seat for a talk first? Although he spoke courteously, the moment his words fell, the tribulation transcending stage pressure surged like a tide, suffocating even venerable Gu. It was an absolute suppression born of realm difference, allowing no room for resistance. Divine calculator, my grandson likely cannot return to your holy land with you. A resonant laugh, loud as a bell, suddenly pierced heaven and earth, shaking ripples into the void. Immediately after, a figure completely shrouded in a black robe appeared out of thin air before us. The tribulation transcending stage pressure emanating from him was as heavy as a mountain, not at all inferior to the divine calculators, and even superior in its sharp, killing intent. Grandpa, I recognized the person's appearance and shouted in pleasant surprise. As soon as the system notified me of the probing, I had secretly crushed the life-preserving jade talisman my father gave me before leaving. This talisman could directly transmit a crisis to the ancestor guarding the Ghoul clan. And my grandfather, Gia Shang, was not only a tribulation transcending great power, but also a ruthless character forged in mountains of corpses and seas of blood. Back then, he fought a tribulation transcending expert to a draw while only at the soul integration stage, becoming famous overnight. Now his combat power was far superior to the divine calculator, who specialized in deduction. The smile on the divine calculator's face froze instantly, and a hint of solemnity flashed in his eyes. He clearly hadn't expected Giaoing to arrive so quickly. He retracted the pressure radiating from him, put back on his chuckling demeanor, and cupped his hands. I didn't expect Brother Gu to visit in person, coming to my celestial secret's holy land. It seems we are not fated to have young Master Gu serve as our saint son. You finally realize Gu is the divine child designated by our Guan, destined to command the Gu celestial clan in the future. The position of saint son of your celestial secret's holy land is certainly not for him. Gu Xiao Zhang snorted coldly. It was a pity that the celestial secret's holy land was too unique. If it were the holy lord of any other holy land, just for blocking Gu earlier, he would have had to fight him. He waved his sleeve, and a gentle force enveloped me in lava. Before the divine calculator could say more, the three figures transformed into a streak of dark light and vanished into the horizon. Only Venerable Gu was left scrambling to catch up. Ancestor, take me too. Upon returning to the clan, I asked Guio Zan, Grandpa, when did I become the divine child? Gion snorted. Spirit transformation at 22. Who else in the Gu clan could be the divine child? But little Gu mentioned you found the supreme bone nirvana method in the Ghoul clan. Is that true? I had told a lie back at the celestial secret's holy land for fear of being discovered in front of my grandfather. I naturally wouldn't spout nonsense anymore because my grandfather really would hit me. Grandpa, look, my supreme bone is still here. The one I gave you, Fan, was fake. Gion looked at the shining bone in Guang's spine, and his expression softened. Good. You know your limits. For the next period, I remained in the clan, cultivating with it. I occasionally asked the system if it knew why the divine calculator tried to attack me, but it never responded. Even more surprisingly, amidst the flow of spiritual energy, I managed to glimpse her physique, the legendary innate seduction body. This physique is different from the external charm of ordinary seduction bodies. It is an inherent internal allure capable of attracting the Tao rhythm of heaven and earth, resulting in a cultivation speed far surpassing ordinary people. Others would need deep intimacy to discover her unique physique. Compared to Serafina Chin's profound body, this was worth more than 100 times as much. The Gulin's mountain gate was guarded by several ancestors, leaving no security concerns. With a thought, I stopped suppressing my own emotions, allowing the affection I felt for Lu Qingmi to grow, deepening my comprehension of the Tao of sentiment. I slowed the rate of spiritual energy absorption, my words full of tenderness. Qingmei, when I achieve the great Tao, I will stand beside you, overlooking all living things. However, this warmth was ultimately a reflection in a mirror, as the spiritual energy and the origin of the innate seduction body within her were continuously devoured by me. Lu Qingmei's condition gradually declined from initial stoic endurance and pleading to later clinging to my leg and begging for her life. Her former authority was completely gone. It wasn't until the morning of the 7th day, when the first ray of sunlight pierced through the red gauze, that Lu Qingmei completely lost her former grace. Her black hair had turned frost white, her skin shriveled and slack, her once bright phoenix eyes clouded and dull like an old woman on the verge of death, her internal spiritual energy barely perceptible. Guam, you will never be able to use Yifan. A mere chosen one I can destroy with a flip of my hand. She glared at me with eyes that seemed to hold a final burst of life. My gaze turned cold. I drew the long sword from my waist, and with a sharp slice, blood splattered onto the red gauze like a blooming crimson plum blossom. Before she could draw her last breath, I granted her a quick end. Meanwhile, elsewhere outside the Gu Celestial Clan's mountain gate, the sky was heavy with black clouds. Rumble. Dozens of powerful auras enveloped the entire Gu clan territory, and countless cultivators hovered in the air. Various magical artifact lights intertwined to form a net completely surrounding the continuous celestial mountains. The Gu clan's mountain protecting formation was already at full power, a golden light curtain soaring into the sky. At the formation's core, the Gu clan's 3 grand ascension masters stood side by side with 9 tribulation transcending ancestors arrayed on either flank and dozens of soul integration cultivators forming a battle array. Every face was grim as iron. The Gu clan's first ancestor swept his gaze over the crowd opposite them, his voice booming across the sky like a massive bell. Jin Yuanzi of the Grand, beginning Holy Land. Taoist Venerable Ling Su of the Grand, beginning Holy Land. Sword Maniac of the Heaven Sword Holy Land, and the old fossils of the Zhang and Ji families. You have mobilized such a massive force to descend upon my Gu clan. Are you seeking war with us? Among the crowd, a figure clad in a purple gold dragon patterned robe stepped forward slowly, his face handsome and his eyes indifferent. This was the Zhang family ancestor, Zhang Taishu, cultivation at the peak of the grand ancient stage. We were invited by the divine calculator. He stepped aside, revealing the chuckling divine calculator standing behind him. The divine calculator stepped forward, lightly flicking his horsetail whisk. Senior Gu, your words are misplaced. We are not here to provoke trouble today, but to borrow one thing to save all living beings from the sea of suffering. What thing? The black robe of the Guan's first ancestor flapped in the wind. It is young friend Guang's supreme blood. The divine calculator raised his hand and waved, sending a ray of light that lifted Yin, who was on a stretcher, into midair. At this time, Yin had lost all his former spirit. His face was ashen, and the location of the supreme bone on his chest was faintly black. Even his breath was so weak it was barely perceptible, a truly miserable sight. This person is the heaven-appointed, chosen one possessing the primeval saint body, bearing the responsibility of saving the world against the epic calamity. Now, because he transplanted young friend Guang's supreme bone, his saint body origin is being continuously eroded, and he is on the verge of death. Under the heavens, only young friend Guchang's supreme blood can save his life. In truth, the divine calculator was lying. With his cultivation, he could easily remove the supreme bone and save Yin's life. His alarmist claims were merely because the celestial secrets predicted that he would awaken early and Yin, the chosen one, was growing too slowly. He couldn't take the risk. If Yin failed to achieve nirvana on his own, this world might not have time to wait for the next chosen one. Such trash. Yet, he dares to be called the chosen one. The Gulin's first ancestor snorted coldly, his voice shaking the clouds. A thing that must rely on plundering another's foundation to sustain life. Even if saved, he will never be a match for him. My Guan descendant, Guaz, possesses the potential of a true immortal. He can shoulder this world's saving responsibility as well. The divine calculator countered. Throughout history, there have been countless peerless talents, but apart from him, none have ever attained the true immortal Tao. This proves that only the chosen one can ascend to the true immortal. Therefore, for the sake of all living beings, your Gul clan must offer the supreme blood, whether you want to or not. Gia Shan was furious and was about to erupt, but the Gul clan's first ancestor stopped him with a raised hand. Zhang Taishu finally spoke, his tone carrying a hint of persuasion. Brother Gu, when you and I broke through the Grand Ascension stage, we both received celestial secrets warnings that the epic calamity is approaching. His awakening is no joke. The chosen one is born in response to the calamity and must be saved. We only need 8 drops of supreme blood, which will not harm young friend Guing's life. Why not do it? It will not harm his life. Guion laughed in anger. The supreme bone physique only has 9 drops of supreme blood, and every drop is crucial to the stability of one's Tao foundation. If 8 drops are taken, he will not only lose all possibility of further breakthroughs, but might even regress in cultivation. You are certainly generous with others' assets. The Gul clan's first ancestor threw his head back and laughed, his laughter filled with grim resolution. If you want to fight, then fight. Why so much nonsense? My Gu celestial clan has been passed down for ages and is never a soft pin to be squeezed by others. If you want my grandson's Tao foundation in exchange for Yi Fan's life, you'll have to step over the corpses of my Gu clan. Boom. The 3 grand ascension masters of the Gu clan struck simultaneously, followed closely by the 9 tribulation transcending ancestors. The dozens of soul integration cultivators formed a battle array, and the mountain protecting formation instantly erupted with brilliant golden light, tightly shielding the Gu celestial clan. The divine calculator looked at the tense standoff, and a ruthless glint flashed in his eyes. The Gu clan remains obstinate. Do not blame us for being impolite. Everyone, for the sake of all living beings, let us join forces today to break the Gu clan's great formation and take the supreme blood to save Yi Fan. As Lu Qingmei's body slowly collapsed, a long-absent system prompt chimed in my mind. Ding! The host has slain the protagonist female, leading Mei, and absorbed the innate seduction body origin. Fortune points plus 10,000. The last thread of emotional entanglement in my heart was completely severed. The Supreme Detachment Sutra instantly broke through the bottleneck, stepping into the detachment from sentiment realm. A strand of chilling, heartless Tao rhythm was nurtured within my primordial spirit, intertwining with the already perfectly honed Tao of sentiment. The 2 extreme Tao rhythms not only failed to conflict but formed a marvelous balance. My Tao of sentiment reached complete perfection at this moment. The core requirement for a cultivator to break through to the Grand Ascension stage is to master one complete great Tao. At the moment the Tao of sentiment perfected, the spiritual power in my Dantian roared like a tsunami, and faint golden Tao patterns appeared above my primordial spirit, beginning their transformation. Bang! The stone door of the quiet room was violently kicked open. Lulvu rushed in with a panicked expression. "Young master, something is wrong. Countless great powers are outside the mountain gate, saying they will forcibly seize your supreme blood. Master and the ancestors are holding them off at the front. They told me to take you away through the secret tunnel's teleportation array. Go!" A cold, arrogant curve appeared on my lips. After absorbing Lu Qingmi's cultivation, the spiritual power fully condensed around my body began to surge restlessly. System: all fortune points. Convert them entirely into cultivation. Ding. Attribute points have been fully converted into cultivation. Current cultivation. Peak spirit transformation. Grand ascension stage impacting. As soon as the words fell, I stepped out of the room. Boom. 1 step, void refinement. 2 steps, soul integration. 3 steps, tribulation transcending. 4 steps, grand ascension. Elle's mouth hung wide open, so shocked she couldn't speak. My figure moved, transforming into a streak of blood-red light onto the battlefield at the Gu clan's mountain gate. The golden light of the mountain protecting formation was already covered in cracks. Gia Shan was covered in blood, his black robe ripped in several places by Sword Chi as he wrestled with a tribulation transcending expert. The 3 Grand Ascension Masters of a Gul clan were fighting 5 Grand Ascension experts together and were already at their limit. The cultivators below the tribulation transcending stage suffered countless casualties. The scene was brutally tragic. "Guang, why are you here? Go back quickly. The Gulan shouldn't have to sacrifice a junior like you." Guion's expression turned chaotic when he saw my figure, but all his words got stuck in his throat when he clearly saw the Grand Ascension aura surrounding me. Rumble. Dark clouds suddenly gathered in the 9 heavens, and purple lightning crisscrossed like dragons, forming a tribulation cloud far more formidable than a typical Grand Ascension tribulation. "He is Gu. Capture him. As long as we get his supreme blood, Yi Fan can live." The divine calculator noticed me. Noisy, I spat coldly. My twin pupils suddenly appeared, and 2 pitch-black beams of destructive light shot from them. Where they passed, the void itself was constantly being destroyed. The divine calculator's face changed drastically, and he instantly materialized countless clones, his most skilled technique. But before my twin pupils, it was like covering one's ears while stealing a bell. The destructive light cut straight through his eyes like a hot knife through butter. The divine calculator's eyes widened in horror, and his body began to shatter from the center of his brow, dissolving into scattered points of light, with even his soul unable to escape. My figure flickered, and I appeared beside the stretcher, lifting Ian by the neck with one hand. Ian was already unconscious, and a heaven-swallowing demonic bone on his chest was faintly black, greedily devouring his last vestiges of vitality. With a thought, the spiritual power on my fingertip moved, and a heaven-swallowing demonic bone transplanted on Yin automatically flew out, returning to my palm with a rich aura of saint body origin. Yi Fan seemed to have a final burst of life, spitting out a mouthful of reverse blood, utterly dead. Refined with a thought, spiritual power enveloped the heaven-swallowing demonic bone. The saint body origin contained within the bone was instantly stripped away and poured entirely into my supreme bone. Ding! The host has removed the heaven-swallowing demonic bone and completely eliminated the chosen son of destiny. Yi Fan fortune points plus 1 million. Ding! Congratulations to the host for successfully breaking through to the Grand Ascension realm. Main quest Dark Omen is now issued. Quest content. System deductions indicate that within 1,000 years, this world will suffer an epic calamity, leading to widespread devastation and the extinction of living beings. The host must enhance their own strength as much as possible before the epic calamity descends. The system prompt ended just as the first bolt of the 4th layer tribulation cloud crashed down. A purple lightning bolt as thick as a water bucket, carrying the aura of destruction, smashed toward my head. Yin and Yang combined. She used the tribulation as the foundation. I shouted low. 2 energies swirled around me, forming a massive vortex that directly sucked the tribulation lightning into it. The violent, thunderous power was instantly ground down and transformed into pure thunder origin, integrating into my body. Grand Ascension. He actually is Grand Ascension. Someone in the crowd let out a cry of despair, their Tao heart completely shattered. He is undergoing the tribulation. Kill him quickly, or once he succeeds, none of us will survive. Even if I hold the heavenly tribulation in my hand, I go still invincible under the heavens. After several fierce clashes, a large number of tribulation transcending cultivators were killed by me. The 5 Grand Ascension cultivators tried to rush to the rescue, but the 3 Gu ancestors fought with grim determination, pinning them down. Seeing the heavy casualties among their disciples, Jiang Taishu roared, "Stop the fighting. Cultivation knows no years. Summer gives way to winter. Stars shift their courses. 900 years have passed since the earth-shattering Great War at the Gu clan's mountain gate. The grand beginning, and heaven-soared holy lands that participated in the siege back then, along with ancient powers like the Jiang and Ji families, could finally no longer bear the continuous loss of their clan members and disciples, and they all sued for peace. They knew clearly that Yin was dead, and continuing the fight was meaningless. Instead of fighting until both sides were mutually ruined, it was better to compromise actively and cut their losses. I proposed that each power pay 100,000 caddies of immortal gold, leaving the rest for my grandfather and the others to negotiate. For the first 400 years, I used the Gu clan's inherited ancient forging method to melt the millions of caddies of immortal gold into a single furnace. The immortal gold, scorched by the Un and Yang, 2 energies, transformed into flowing liquid gold. When the first blade light bloomed from the furnace, the laws of heaven and earth trembled. A long saber, entirely pitch black with a faint flow of light along the edge, appeared. I named it Detachment. After the forging was complete, I used 1 million fortune points at the cost of enlightenment. The fortune points on the system panel rapidly decreased, but the Tao rhythm within me grew ever heavier. The Tao of no sentiment, the great Tao of Yin-Yang, advanced to perfection. I began to dabble in the great Tao of 5 elements and the great Tao of space. Only the final realm of the Supreme Detachment Sutra, the Tao of true detachment, remained shrouded as if by a thick fog. No sentiment is not true detachment, and sentiment is not true sentiment. I gazed at the detachment saber in my hand and fell into deep thought. The Tao of sentiment was perfected through bonds. The Tao of no sentiment was forged through slaughter. But how does one comprehend the Tao of true detachment? At that moment, plot points from the web novels I read before transcending suddenly flooded my mind. Many great powers, when stuck at a bottleneck, would choose to seal their memories, reincarnate as mortals, and comprehend the true meaning of the great Tao in the mortal realm. With a thought, I made my decision. I stored the detachment saber within my body to nurture it, then activated a secret technique, sealed my cultivation and memories, and plunged into the mortal world as a streak of light. 500 years passed in this manner. For 30 years, I sat on the dragon throne of the great Qian dynasty, plotting strategies and deciding battle from 1,000 miles away, watching the vast territory reach its zenith under my rule. I also experienced the taste of betrayal and being utterly alone. I was once a salt merchant who was the wealthiest man in the Zhang and water towns, possessing immense wealth and numerous wives and concubines, only to lose everything in a natural disaster while saving the displaced refugees. I was also a kitchen helper in a restaurant, toiling from dawn till dusk just for a hot bowl of rice, experiencing the hardships and warmth of the lower class. When destitute, I was a beggar on the streets, curled up in the cold wind, enduring people's disdain, tasting the cold and warmth of the world. I even worked as a procurer in a brothel, becoming accustomed to extravagance and superficial courtesies, seeing through the deceitfulness of human hearts and the rarity of true affection. 500 years tumbling through the mortal world. 500 years of seeing the world's indifference. Now I was Gu, the newly crowned top scholar of the great Fong dynasty. That day, the streets of Chong'an were filled with the sound of gongs and drums, the masses turning out in droves. I, wearing the bright red robe of the top scholar, sat atop a tall steed accepting the cheers and blessings of the common people. The second and third place scholars beside me wore triumphant smiles, exchanging glances with the court ladies on the street. Just as the procession reached Million Bird Avenue, the skies suddenly darkened. Immediately after, a vast and majestic voice echoed through the clouds. The soul yearns for storms to rage. The heart completes the altar of the three realms. A giant hand blotting out the sun and moon slowly pressed down from the heavens. The palm was covered in ancient runes. Each finger was like a towering mountain. Where it passed, space shattered inch by inch, and even sunlight could not penetrate. The citizens of Chong were terrified out of their wits, screaming and scattering everywhere. The previously lively street instantly descended into chaos. Countless cultivators shot into the sky. Hidden elders of venerable sects, grand ascension masters who had been in seclusion for years, all emerged. They summoned their strongest magical artifacts, channeling all their spiritual power, launching streaks of dazzling attacks toward the giant hand. But those attacks, powerful enough to destroy heaven and earth, fell upon the giant hand like stones into the sea, failing to cause even a ripple. Instead, they were thrown back, spitting blood from the pressure radiating from the hand. A late-stage Grand Ascension Master was caught in the mere aftershock of the giant hand, and his body instantly disintegrated into a mist of blood. An aura of despair enveloped the entire land. Just then, crack. The shackles sealing my memories and cultivation instantly shattered. 500 years of mortal memories flooded my mind like a tidal wave. Everything forgotten became perfectly clear at this moment. I roared toward the sky. My grand ascension, perfected cultivation erupted without reservation. Golden Tao patterns shot into the heavens, tearing a gap in the shadow that enveloped the earth. The three slashes of true detachment. The first slash, the saber of heavenly will. Heavenly will cannot be violated. My eyes were icy cold as I raised the detachment saber high. Slash, a saber light. 10,000 jang long bloomed in the darkness, slicing through the firmament. The saber light was pure white and flawless. Yet, it contained the power to shatter everything, striking directly toward the giant hand. The saber light and the giant hand collided with a roar. But instead of a world-shattering explosion, there was only the silence of the giant hand being instantly cleaved in two. The severed giant hand transformed into surging vital energy, sprinkling onto the earth like a timely rain. But there was no joy on my face. Instead, my brow was tightly furrowed. I took one step, and my figure vanished from the spot. When I reappeared, I was already in the cold, silent, starry sky, facing a black-robed figure. Behind him were countless wailing, vengeful spirits. Ding. System prompt. The final demon god has awakened. Next to appear are the original savior, the faith of all spirits, the founder of the demonic Tao, Ragnarok, the beginning of legend, the brave in the nursery rhyme, the epic purifier, the most devoted in history, the strongest human, the oath breaker. Ding. System prompt, final dungeon, salvation, difficulty, unknown. Reward, unknown. I looked at the string of prompts suddenly appearing in the system, and a realization dawned in my heart, clarifying the truth of my transmigration. Before I crossed over, this world had already gone through 99 cycles. In every cycle, the chosen one was slain by the demon god before me. Each epic cycle consumed a portion of this world's heavenly Tao origin. One more cycle, and this world would likely perish. My final purpose in descending upon this world was to slay the demon god before me. Simultaneously, I learned his name, Minji. When Minji's gaze met mine, I felt my primordial spirit locked by an invisible force, as if even the immortal energy circulating within me had become sluggish. Even a legendary true immortal probably wouldn't measure up to 1/10,000th of him. Because in the present, I am a true immortal. I dare not be the least bit careless. Without any unnecessary probing, I unleash my strongest ultimate skill, the 3 slashes of true detachment. First slash, the saber of heavenly will. Heavenly will cannot be violated. The pure white saber light bloomed once again, but it was 10 times stronger than before. On the saber, the fervor of the Tao of sentiment and the chilling cold of the Tao of no sentiment intertwined to form a Tai Chi diagram. Yin and Yang energies transformed into a dragon and phoenix circling around. The laws of the 5 elements condensed into flowing multicolored light, and spatial power tore web-like spatial cracks along the blade. This strike was meant to judge this supreme existence in the name of heavenly will. Minji let out a low, cold snort, a sound less like a human voice and more like the collision of cosmic dust. He slowly raised his hand, and a pitch-black long sword materialized in his palm. The sword body bore no extra ornamentation, but seemed to devour all surrounding light. Even starlight landing on the sword was silently annihilated. Cosmic first sword, boundless void of the 10 directions. Minji swung his sword. There was no dazzling light, no boundless momentum. The sword move was ordinary, yet it raised a frantic alarm in my heart. As the saying goes, heaven has above and below. Earth has 4 extremes. Within one sword, annihilate the 10 directions. These 10 directions encompass going up to heaven, down to earth, the 4 extremes, and the 8 wildernesses, further including the boundaries of life and death, the past and the future. Everything in the world has its belonging, all within the framework of the great Tao. And this void sword sought to sever all such belonging, erasing all traces of existence. The black sword light and the pure white saber light collided with a roar. There was no earth-shattering sound of impact. The heavenly will saber light melted rapidly like ice and snow meeting the scorching sun. The Tao power on the saber was dismantled one by the sword light. The dragon and phoenix cried mournfully. The 5 elements disintegrated, and even the spatial cracks were forcefully smoothed over. What was more terrifying was that the sword light did not dissipate but split in 2. One, carrying the vicissitudes of time, struck toward my past. The other, wrapped in the fog of the future, cleaved toward my path forward. The sword of the past sought to sever my cultivation foundation, reducing me back to the easily manipulated youth. The sword of the future sought to seal my Tao path, forever trapping me in the true immortal realm, unable to advance further in a life or death moment. The Tao of true detachment within me erupted violently. The second slash was cast, the saber of fate. Fate cannot be reversed. I spun sideways and slashed, the detachment saber drawing an elegant arc. The saber light transformed into golden threads, weaving into a vast net of karma. Mortal karma, the net of destiny. The affairs of the world are impermanent, but I hold my true self. The golden saber light collided with the 2 sword lights of the past and future. The karma net instantly tightened, devouring the past and future power within the 2 sword lights, and the sword light shattered. Before Minji could react, I stepped into the air, and the saber's momentum shifted again. The flow of time around me suddenly became turbulent. One moment, it was the flow of the Milky Way. The next, it was the shifting of stars. Countless images flickered behind me, all tracing the trajectory of the passage of time, returning the favor using his own method. The saber of time. Time cannot be reversed. As the saying goes, what flows away is like this river, never ceasing day or night. Lifting the saber, there is no before or after. Bringing it down, there's no ancient or modern. This slash swept out, and the entire starry sky seemed to freeze. The saber light was no longer a distinct color, but transformed into an invisible torrent of time. Wherever it passed, even the light of the stars slowed down. This slash ignored spatial distance. ignored defensive barriers, and acted directly upon Ming Ye's timeline, seeking to erase him from the point of the present and have him return to nothingness, never having existed. But just as the saber light was about to touch Minji, he suddenly smiled. That smile carried the aloofness of an epic-level existence, yet also the gratification of meeting a worthy opponent. The scarlet eyes rippled with emotion for the first time. You are the first person in 99 epic cycles worth me drawing my second sword against. Cosmic's second sword. The sword of the mortal realm. Cinnamon crafts the mortal world. All phenomena. Myriad changes. The sword rises and sinks, guarding the world for eternity. Minji swung his sword again. This time, the pitch-black long sword erupted with a warm light completely different from the void sword before. The sword light spread out, transforming into countless points of light, condensing into mountains and rivers, pavilions and towers, the clamor of city markets. It actually evolved into a vibrant, living mortal world in this cold, starry sky. The light of the time saber cut into that mortal world like a stone thrown into the ocean, instantly assimilated by the boundless vitality and bonds. Where the saber light passed, mountains and rivers yielded way. Rivers changed course, and the common people in the markets paid it no mind, as if this saber strike, capable of severing time itself, inherently belonged to this mortal world and had never brought destruction. The moment the saber light completely dissipated, I was hit by a recoil force. My blood surged, and I couldn't help spitting out a mouthful of blood. I staggered back several steps, watching the mortal world evolve from the sword light slowly vanish. And for the first time, a powerful sense of powerlessness welled up in my heart. Minji gave me the feeling of being in the primordial chaos system, a true immortal fighting a golden immortal. There was no chance of winning at all. I smiled bitterly. After 900 years in this life, I felt I had lived enough. I immediately burned everything within me. Body, immortal power, soul, great Daos, intending to unleash my final yet-to-be-completed strongest strike. The saber body vibrated violently, letting out a roar like a dragon's cry, and even the starry sky was illuminated as if it were daylight. The beginning of the Tao before the seal, a saber light that surpassed the great Tao and ignored time and space shot out. This saber light had no fixed form. At times, it resembled the first ray of dawn when the cosmos first opened. At other times, the last speck of darkness in the cycle of nirvana. Wherever it passed, even the stars were forcibly vaporized, and the void completely descended into chaos. But what shocked me was that facing this life-risking strike, Minji showed no posture of resistance. He sheathed his long sword, and complex emotions churned in his scarlet eyes as if he were calmly accepting death. Countless thoughts flashed through my mind at high speed. Aiha Itachi toward Sasuke, Yang Jian towards Qinziang. Just as the saber light was about to touch Ming Yi, his pitch-black eternal night sword vibrated on its own. Light surged from the blade, and a graceful figure in red floated out of the sword. It was the sword's spirit nurtured within the sword. Sentiment crafts the mortal world. The red-robed sword spirit immediately executed Ming Yi's sword move, though the power was several times weaker than when Minji wielded it. An immortal world that evolved was ethereal and illusory, resembling a fragile barrier more than anything else. No, Minji's pupils constricted, and he roared, reaching out to grab her, but he was ultimately too slow. Boom! The saber light struck the red-robed sword spirit squarely. The spiritual light on her body receded like a tidal wave. Her illusory figure quickly solidified, finally transforming into a woman in blue with a peerless appearance. She was pale, her aura weak, and she collapsed into Minji's arms, looking at him with lingering affection and guilt. Sherwu, Minji rushed forward, carefully holding the woman in his arms, his voice trembling with an emotion never heard before. It's really you. I've searched for you for 99 epic cycles, and I finally found you. I lay paralyzed in the starry sky, gasping for air. My immortal power was exhausted, my physical body destroyed, and my soul was on the verge of dissipation. My condition was terrible. Taking advantage of the two catching up, I hastily circulated the last shred of my soul power to absorb the surrounding chaotic vital energy and recover. From their intermittent conversation, I finally pieced together the cause and effect. This woman named Shi Wu was actually Ming Ye's wife. 99 epic cycles ago, Ming Yi was the savior. She took a blow from a demon god meant for Ming Yi and perished to stay with him forever. She tried to swallow the spirituality of the eternal night sword to become his sword spirit. But she didn't know that the eternal night sword had already nurtured its own sentience and had long developed affection for its master, Ming Yi. To protect itself, the sword spirit devoured Shi Wu's soul instead. The two became entangled within the sword, forming a state of personality split. The red-robed sword spirit dominated the body while Shi Wu's consciousness was fiercely suppressed, hidden in the deepest part of the sword, becoming the darkness under the lamp that Ming Yi could never find. The so-called epic calamity, the so-called dark turmoil, was merely Ming Yi's method for searching for his wife's true spirit. I secretly breathed a sigh of relief in my heart. The lovesick man had found his wife, and probably wouldn't pursue world destruction anymore. Just then, Ming Yi, holding Shi Wu, slowly turned his head to look at me. The tenderness in his eyes receded, replaced by cold indifference. His thin lips parted. Apologies. A frantic alarm bell rang in my heart. I was about to circulate the law of space to escape when I found my entire body already locked by an invisible force. The five-fingered fist sword pierced effortlessly through my chest. I let out a piercing scream, feeling the true immortal origin within me being crazily drawn out by a powerful suction force. I was finished. After absorbing my origin, Shi Wu's pale face gradually regained its color and her aura stabilized. Furthermore, she reshaped her physical body using my origin. A spot of light then appeared. Ding! If you draw his origin, you cannot draw mine. Okay, my dearest master in a novel. Part 2. Mandatory separators.